Caroline Klein, Chief Communications Officer for the Utah Jazz. Thank you for joining us for this very special occasion that has quickly, but not at all surprisingly, commanded the attention of Jazz Nation, audiences across Utah, and sports enthusiasts across the country. We are also live streaming this event, so we welcome those viewers as well. We are here today to celebrate this morning's monumental announcement that the Utah Jazz and Delta have entered into a long-term naming rights agreement and sponsorship deal that is bringing the Delta Center name back to Utah starting in July of 2023. I think everyone got goosebumps when they heard the news was official. This arena is a very special building. It is home to the Utah Jazz and hosts more than 320 evenings of events annually. It is truly Utah's community gathering place. In just a few minutes, you will hear more about this arena that stands as a premier NBA facility. But first, before we get into official remarks, please allow me to introduce our special guests who have joined us here today. A group of leaders from Delta who are instrumental in the company's community involvement in Salt Lake City, where more than 5,000 Delta employees currently live, work, and serve. Please welcome the local Delta leadership team. A fifth-generation Utahn and the mayor of Salt Lake County, please welcome Jenny Wilson. Elected as the 36th mayor of Salt Lake City and serving in office since 2020, please welcome Aaron Mendenhall. A husband, father, huge Utah Jazz fan, and Utah's 18th governor, please welcome Spencer Cox. Representing Utah's 15th House District for over a decade and currently serving as Speaker of the House since 2018, please welcome Brad Wilson. And we also want to welcome a number of other special guests, including Jim Olson, Danny Ainge, Will Hardy, David Bywater, and Todd Santiago. We're also honored to have here with us today Gail Miller, who helped break ground for the Delta Center when it originally opened in 1991. Now let's meet our participants on the stage. First, it's my honor to introduce Ryan and Ashley Smith, owners of the Utah Jazz and Smith Entertainment Group. It goes without saying that Ryan and Ashley have a deep commitment and tremendous passion for the state of Utah. Please join me in welcoming them. Next, please allow me to introduce Ed Bastion. Ed is a 24-year veteran of Delta who currently serves as CEO. He leads a team of 90,000 global professionals and helped Delta become the world's most awarded airline. Okay, so let's hear directly from these three incredible leaders who made today's celebration possible. Ryan, I'd love to have you start us off by sharing what this full circle means to you, the organization, and to Utah, and how it came about, and then we'll hand it over to Ashley and Ed for some comments.
So first of all, thank you everyone for being here on a Saturday. We're super grateful. I think words probably can't express to some people what this means. I was coming out of the gas station this morning and a grown man came up to me in tears because the memories came back. But I just want to thank a couple people, obviously Tim Mates and the Delta team for just such a tremendous job. Chris Barney and David Bywater, Todd Santiago, Todd Peterson, and the Vivint crew. This stuff doesn't happen very often. I think this might be the first time naming rights has come back, and our partners are everything for us. And you know, we're extending a major partnership with Vivint, but we're Jazz fans, they're Jazz fans, and everyone knows what this means. I think this is probably the only naming rights deal that could ever come along where Vivint would work with us to do this, and they leaned in, and we made it all possible in like a way that probably could only happen in Utah. And I am so grateful for this and that we're all here because this is a big moment. Gail would talk to Ash and I so many times about being stewards, and I never knew what that meant until like a year in, and I was like, holy cow, like there's a lot of history here, there's a lot of DNA, and it's also hard to be in this spot and know what part of the DNA to leave behind to take the organization to new heights and what part to embrace. because oftentimes the decisions aren't simple, and sometimes they're both bad options or whatever it is. This was crystal clear. And I think the way I think about it is, maybe once or twice a year, if you just picture Jerry and Larry and Hot Rod, and just, you think they give you a little wink and say good job? And I think if we get that twice a year, they're probably not going to do it on everything, but we did something right, and I felt that today, and that's a cool moment. Ed's vision, the work that Delta has done for this community is insane. I don't know that there is another employer who has added more to this community than Delta Airlines. It's the entry of our state. And to be able to connect their commitment to the airport, to Salt Lake City, to this arena, is what this truly is about. And the vision of how this happened, I'm going to let Ed actually go into that, because it really highlights the culture of who Delta is. And I think it's aspirational for every business in our state, in the nation, to understand this story, because it's probably one of the coolest moments in my business career that I've been a part of. And I think it's aspirational for every one of us as leaders. So on behalf of our organization, Smith Entertainment Group, but Jazz Nation, thank you. Thank you for bringing the memories back, because I think, like I said, this is the first time I've known, and people have written that a naming rights has come back, but it's not even the name, it's the memories. From going to the arena as a kid with my grandfather to, I have so many memories. I mean, I see Mehmet over there, like past players, like when we say once a jazz man, always a jazz man, or this is your home, this is what it is. And so it's dreamy. It's dreamy right now. So, Ash.
Well, when he just said Larry and Jerry and Hot Rod, I felt emotional. And then when he says, once a jazz man, always a jazz man, that same emotion. Because professional sports for us is unifying. And that's why when Gail was feeling and trusting in us to be stewards over this organization, we wanted to be a part of something that is unifying and that brings people together. And what's really exciting is that Delta's mission is to connect people. And so it feels inspiring and exciting to be a part of a partnership like this, and to dig back down to memories and to the DNA of this organization is so inspiring. And our goal is unification in the state and connecting more within our state. So I'm just excited to be a part of a cool partnership like this.
I guess it's my turn. Well, first of all, I'm humbled to be here. And Ashley and Ryan, thank you for affording us this opportunity. You don't often get this opportunity to make things right in life and in business, and the world moves at such a fast pace. But when you look at all who are assembled here on a Saturday afternoon, the leadership of our city, our county, our government here, our state, Gail, thank you for being here. You see how important this is to a community. And I personally always loved the Jazz franchise myself. In fact, at Delta, it was the very first NBA franchise we sponsored. Was here, was the sponsorship with the Jazz back in the early 90s and this center. And we, many of you know the story, we went through a difficult time following a 9/11. The whole airline industry did. And we had to make some tough decisions to save costs fast. And we wound up, and I was the one in the chair having to make the decision to take the name off the arena. And 16 years later, it still gnaws at me. I can tell you, and I've shared that story with Ryan and Ashley a number of times over the last few years. But our commitment to this community is evident. You see how much Salt Lake means to us, how much the state means to us, the region. It's our fourth largest airport in the world Delta Airlines flies to, almost 250 flights a day and growing. And we can't wait to get that next concourse built and added in the next, I think it's later this year. And so Gail, the walks will get shorter, I promise you. But it's one of the things that, and there's billions of dollars that we trust with the city and the community and Delta. But there was always something missing. And I personally have lived out here. I've got a home up in Park City for the last 12 years. So I understand how everyone calls it the Delta Center. And every time somebody called it the Delta Center, it would bother me. Because it's just, I felt guilty, just one more time. And when you add on top of the fact that we have 5,000 hardworking women and men here in this community, in this city, in the state, and the pride they take in the state and serving the community and having that arena that was kind of taken a bit from them, I felt such an obligation. It's funny, in business, you don't really get into moral obligations. It's weird, you're kind of supposed to stay commercial and, people, but this was a moral obligation to kind of get this thing done right, for so many reasons. And Ryan and I got to know each other a number of years ago. And we've done some business together, and you were in Atlanta, I think. You came to visit me in Atlanta. The Jazz were playing, and so we went to a Hawks game. I'm good friends with Tony Ressler, the owner of the Hawks, too, so I was a little split as to who I was cheering for that day, but I was with Ryan. But we were talking. We had a long time to talk, and I shared with him that story as to how painful it was. And if there was ever an opportunity, and I didn't know the situation and I didn't know the relationship with Viventon, but if there was ever an opportunity to do something to make that right, I would be very interested in considering that. And thank you for the team at Vivint. You guys were wonderful through a really hard discussion, I'm sure, internally to try to figure this thing out, but you did, and we appreciate that. We're all together now around the team and the community and the arena. And I feel those same goosebumps that you talk about, Ashley, when we think about this day. So it's a real honor to be back, and we ain't ever gonna leave. We ain't never leaving. They say homecomings are sweet, but 16 years later, this is really special, really special.
Thank you. So now we're going to open up to questions from the media. We have microphones around the room, and if you could please identify your outlet, your question, of course, and then who you would like to direct it to. Questions? No questions. Okay. Oh, sorry. Andy.
Ed, you talked about how this was kind of a homecoming for you in some sense. How did this deal come together with your kind of meetings with Ryan, and kind of how long of a process was that? And did you think that it could happen so soon with the extension of this agreement?
Well, we've probably been talking about this on and off for a couple of years, so it took a while, and we're respectful. There was a relationship with Vivint that we didn't want to interfere with, but so we didn't understand what the terms of the contract, whatever that arrangement was. So I think we just kind of kept talking over time and thinking about ideas and opportunities. I know Ryan was considering it on his side with his team as well. And our team, Tim Mapes, he's our chief marketing officer, led the discussions on the Delta side. So it was a long, I wouldn't say protracted, but it was just we needed to kind of move at a very respectful pace. And for us, we didn't want to come in like a bull in the china shop. We're Delta, we're big. We want to put the name back on the arena. We understood that wasn't our place to do, and it was a series of conversations over a couple of years.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is, Indy, is Ed and I do a lot of business together with Qualtrics and everything that we do on the experience side, and I think that we all kind of need to figure out like how this would work. And when I say we need to thank Vivint, like we need to thank Vivint. Like like I said, there's one person that could come and do this. And when we say that they're Jazz fans first and foremost, they see the same thing we do. They feel it. They know. And we all do. And so it was truly like something that happens in Utah where partnerships come together. I've operated next to Vivint for 20 years, and we're friends. I grew up with Todd, Bywater. Like, there's a relationship here. There's no brokers. There's no agents. This is just people who care about the same thing. And the other thing I would add is Vivint didn't need or Delta didn't need this for marketing. They already own the market. Think about that. They did it because they wanted to do the right thing. And actually, what Ed said was kind of have this moment that he felt like needed to be done.
Other questions?
Dana Green with ABC4. Ryan, you're obviously looking into the future with this team, but can you talk about balancing that with a connection to the historic past of this franchise? And is this the perfect balance, the way to do that?
I said it, it's hard, right? I've talked to a lot of basketball legends, and I had a famous one point out to me. He's like, "Hey, you inherited all the DNA, good and bad." And telling me what our colors were, everything else, like every single thing, and I think that's a great opportunity, and I think that our goal is to figure out like how to take what's gotten us here, but also say, hey, how do we attract the next fan base as well? I think everyone in the NBA is working on that as the game's changing and distribution and media and everything's changing. How to also, All-Star is a great example. This state looks totally different than it did 30 years ago from almost everything. It'll be the same way when the Olympics come back, totally different. How do we right size? So it's not like we're in these static environments. Everything's moved. You can't be one of the fastest growing states for 6 out of the last 10 years or 8 out of the last 10 and not have a compounding change. And Delta's, look at the airport, but that's everywhere. And then, you look at the league and how do we take what's gotten here, what's Jazz basketball, and then how do we actually go to heights that we've never achieved? And, there's no guarantees, but you surround yourself with amazing people, and I think we've done that with Will and Danny and Justin and our crew, and you got to be willing to go for it. And I think you guys have seen that.
If I could add to that, when you think about the major professional sports leagues in our country, it's clear the league is the most global of any of them. And this team here, your team, the Jazz, have been leaders in that in terms of bringing real international talent here on the court. And that's what we do. We bring the world together. And so the fact that there's a global aspect to this as well is really important. At Delta, we charter about 90% of the teams in the league exclusively, and for that reason. So it was a good question, but this is far deeper than just a name on a building or a sponsorship deal. There's real roots here, and our connection to those roots to continue to bring Utah to the world and the world to Utah is the league is the perfect conduit to exemplify that.
I know you guys aren't releasing the terms of the deal, but Ryan, can you speak to the kind of long-term nature of this commitment between the two of you?
I think he just said he was never leaving. Did I hear that wrong?
I'm never leaving, so we're not going to have to worry about it. That'd be
There we
pretty.
go.
Yeah, no, you only get one chance to make it right. Listen, we're not going to talk about the terms, but but you look at some of the naming rights around the league, around some of the what's happened in L.A., right? And boy, people don't know what to think of that, or what happened in Miami with FTX, or, this is, so the fact that we're coming back in here and putting a real great brand with 5,000 employees behind it here, yeah, we're never going.
I don't know how you describe those in legal terms, but I'm good with
You
it.
got me on tape now.
Ben Anderson, KSL Sports. Ryan, when it comes to having a super international brand like Delta, how does that help grow the Jazz? I mean, how does that help expose your brand?
So what's crazy is you all know who Delta's partners are. We all know. I don't know of another brand where you know who their partners are. We know it's Coca-Cola. We know it's American Express. Coca-Cola's our partner. It was Amex night last night. They both have major presences here. So I think if you look at that, the Olympics, the airport, this is way bigger as you think of that. And we're already, getting a lot of attention from the league and around sports for how the growth of Utah is catching up with the brands that are coming in. I mean, it's not a small market in terms of that. It's definitely not a small market in terms of what they're doing. And I think you'll see that at All-Star and other things, that we've outgrown the narrative.
Okay, great. So that will include the live stream portion of our event. So thank you to those viewers. And now we're going to take a moment for media and commemorative